A blessed evening to all of you, a blessed day to those who are joining us in other parts of the world through this live stream. In the whole life of Jesus, in his whole ministry, we find so many accusations against him, many things, like a glutton, a drunkard, a friend of sinners and publicans and prostitutes. Perhaps he was seen as eunuch, a lawbreaker. Today, a new and a very disconcerting title for him appears, that he was suspected as suicidal. And the comments we find in the comments today now that that would express this idea of these people around him. Could it be that he is going to commit suicide? They asked. And that is why he said, where I am going, you cannot come. This accusation, of course, does not reflect the truth about Jesus. But as we know the story later, that it hints at one of his followers, Judas. Jesus is not suicidal in the ordinary sense of the word, but he is someone who gives his life freely to manifest the Father's love, not out of desperation, but really the giving of himself to manifest the Father's love for the world. And as we have heard now, his message was not understood. It collided with the human way of conducting ourselves. That is why Jesus experienced this frustration now, that he was not understood. But he kept talking now. Continued to present his message now, even with the difficulties of others understanding him. But there is one thing that is interesting to note, that in his relationship and his preaching, it is interesting to note that those who come to have a grasp of the essence of Jesus or the message of Jesus were those who were willing to listen, open themselves to him, to his message, and not consumed by their prejudices. And it is with this attitude that others came to believe him, because they had that openness without malice, without biases. They listened to the word, to the preaching of Jesus. And his reference to these being lifted up on high points to what the first reading today, that the fulfillment or the glorification of the Son of God is on the cross, where he would reveal the greatest expression of his obedience to the Father, and at the same time expression of His love for humanity. And that is also, as Saint John would present, the moment of death, crucifixion of Jesus, is at the same time the very moment of His glory. It is difficult to fathom the mystery of Christ, but again, it reveals to us that it is in this radical obedience to the will of God that maybe He Himself did not fully understand, or it was difficult to understand, as we find Jesus negotiating with His Father, at the in His prayer at the Garden of Gethsemane. If it is your will, you can remove this cup from me, but it is your will, O Father, not my will. And it is in this moment of obedience, total obedience to His Father, where He would find also His own glorification, His own glorification by the Father. The lesson is, it is in this moment when we have that radical openness and humility and obedience to God's will for us, where we would find the greatest sense of our life or meaning, at the same time as Jesus experienced, where He experienced also His glorification. We may not fully understand things happening in our lives, but it is important to hold on to those values that make us closer to Christ. Our option to do what is right, what is truthful, what is expressed, what expressions of love and kindness. These are the things that would make us nearer to Christ, who is our salvation and glory. As we continue to celebrate this Lenten journey, we are reminded again of the values we espouse. If these are the values that bring us closer to Christ, as He has shown us in His radical obedience, this will surely bring us also to our aim, to our goal, to be with Christ, to experience a meaningful life, to experience His salvation, ultimately for our own happiness. May Christ help us to be courageous like Him in this radical obedience that He has. No. Choosing, even if it is difficult, even if it is dark, even if it is we are alone, or maybe when we experience the difficulties of our Christian commitment, that we stick to what is noble, what is truthful, what is correct, what is beautiful and kind, that expresses kindness. May the Lord be our strength. Amen.